back to the Three Chords and Some Lies podcast with me, Andy.
And me, Jim.
And we have our first guest. So our first guest is Ryan Hyslop from the 58 Sound. Hello, Ryan. Welcome.
Hey, what's up? Thank you for having me.
No
problem at all. Thank you for coming.
So this is basically a follow-on. For a little bit last week, we were talking about trading and Jim's sort of trading life. And he said that you are, Ryan, the guru of guitar trading in all of England. So we thought we'd follow on from last week with a little bit more of that. And, tell us a bit about yourself. How did you get into guitar? That kind of thing.
Nice. Yeah. So, I guess getting into guitar initially was when I was probably like 12, 13. So it started way back then. Dad played in a covers band, wanted to play guitar. Took me years to get into it, even though I was always surrounded by it because I was well into football and I wanted to be a professional footballer, which obviously
I didn't know, okay.
No, but when you get a bit older, you realise, like, even when I say a bit older, when you get to like probably 13, 14, you realise that even then you're too old to kind of make it when you're not good enough, sort of thing. So I guess football was kind of like what I liked, and I was surrounded by music, and then I never really had the guitar forced on me, and then I guess one day I just decided to pick it up myself, and then kind of like, with most things I do, I just got really stuck into it and kind of did it to the extreme and was just like, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it properly and do something cool with it. So I think that's when it kind of started for me then. And then off the back of that, it would just be kind of like going from playing in your bedroom to playing with a few schoolmates, starting your first band and sort of going from there.
Okay. So in terms of actually the selling of the guitars, our last week's podcast, there's Jim on one side, there's me on the other side. We have chalk and cheese. Jerv whores himself out the guitars, and they come in and out all day.
Yeah.
As he knows.
Me, as he knows. And me, I buy them, and if I have to sell them, it's like selling my daughter. Which I obviously don't want to have to do, although I have had to do it. So obviously you sell guitars, so you have to get over that, and you just sell them because it's a shop. But your own personal collection, does that change? Does that vary? Does the shop influence what you do?
It has never ever changed, really. Like, I think for someone that's had so many guitars, like, I'm not your kind of like virtuoso guitar player. Like, I can play guitar, but I'm way more into sort of songwriting and performing than I am sitting at home practicing my scales and needing all these different guitars. I quite like to use what I've got and kind of make the most out of it. So my collection, albeit it's quite a nice one, it's very thin. I've got a black Les Paul Custom because that's what you have to have. And like, that was what I looked at as a kid. And when it got to the point, I was fortunate enough to grow up with. I say grow up. One of my two nice guitars when I was younger was a Les Paul Standard in Cherry Burst, but I hated the finish, and a Cherry SG. And when I got a job and could add a bit of money on top, I traded them and then ended up with a Les Paul Custom. So that's the one that stayed with me and will never leave. I've got a 355, which is like your big sort of custom shop looking 335 effectively. I've got a Telecaster, but it's just a cheap Highway 1 Telecaster that came to me absolutely butchered, but I didn't have a single coil, so I fixed it and used it for the single coil stuff. And then I just have like a 1980s Fender American special bass with a matching red headstock because it's the best sounding bass I've ever heard. And that's it for my collection. I've had like a few acoustics, but they've been like Schecters I've been given or like an old Tanglewood or something.
Nice.
But
Schecters
like
cool.
Nothing. Yeah, the Schecters are cool. Like, I don't ever love them enough to hold on to them. They're very much like, oh, that'll do because I've got it. And unfortunately, from having so many guitars, I feel like I've got annoyingly expensive taste of those things. And there's a little bit of me that's like, I like just making do with what I've got. And there's cheap guitars you pick up that like kind of feel like they've got something in them, and you'll get a song out of them. You'll play it differently. But then I also would love to just have a nice acoustic at some point. So that's what I'm on the lookout for. But my collection's thin, and I don't keep too many, or any really.
Oh, okay, right. So you two are just birds of a feather then. You're this is why you get on well, isn't it? Because you love trading guitars, whereas I hated it. I just couldn't do it. I mean, I've got my Strat here. Obviously, we're not going to do video just yet because we have a few technical difficulties. So video is coming, folks.
Yeah.
But I've got my beloved Edge Stratocaster, and I will be in the gutter somewhere before I.
Would you say that was an Ed one?
It's an Edge signature one, yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that looks cool.
So but we will when we get around to doing videos, we'll actually have moving images of our guitars and we'll show them off. But it's a phenomenal thing, and I go on about it every week, and people are going to get bored, so we'll move on. Jim, have you got anything?
Yeah, loads. So first of all, mate, obviously you and I have known each other for a couple of years now, I think.
Yeah,
But I knew you before you had the shop. So how did the shop come about?
The shop came about, well, do you know what? It was kind of one of those things that I didn't set out with the intention a few years ago of having a guitar shop. I basically started because you've probably seen it. It was actually Jim Ramsey, who runs the Guitar Trade Centre,
Of
started
course,
a
yeah.
Facebook group that basically it was trade your way up to a custom shop Gibson or something along those lines.
I didn't see that. Okay.
I saw that Facebook group and joined it, and me and James, who's actually doing the photos, we both saw that and we're like, do you know what? That's quite a cool thing to do over lockdown. We'll give that a go.
Yeah.
And again, like I went and picked up like a 3/4 size guitar for like a tenner that was local with a stand because I knew I needed a stand to do a photo, and then another guitar for about £100, and then I honestly just kind of kept trading from there. To the point where I was like, oh, mate, I can probably get a nice guitar now, but like, why stop? I was just kind of like, this is quite cool. So like, I might just keep going because I get quite obsessed with things like that. And then after a while, I was like, I could get a shop, I think. But it was one of those things that was like, I was pretty sure of myself I could get a shop. I had some people saying like, are you sure that's a good idea? Like, it's expensive. So I kind of, to keep the cost low, I ran it out my old bedroom at my mum's house, which was tiny, and it was absolutely less than ideal. But it's one of those things that's like, if you want something enough, you make it work. And I knew that was a means to run a business with basically no overheads, offer really good prices, a really good customer service, the same of a shop, but without the brick and mortar shop that everyone associates with a shop having.
Yeah.
So I basically just ran it that way, and to the point where basically there was too much stuff that it was like, this is ridiculous. I had one bedroom with the guitars, but we couldn't have many out because they're all in the cases. There were so many. And then my brother moved out and his bedroom was half the size of my room. And then that became the packaging room with just all the packaging in, which deceptively takes up so much room.
I know.
I can't explain to you.
Even at my house.
It's unbelievable. And then, it just got to the point where I needed a space, and I was just like, well, I can't do this at my mum's house forever. And also I wanted it to be bigger than that because it has its limitations, and some people are cool with buying stuff from people's houses, but a lot of people want you to have a physical shop to show you're a business rather than just offering a fantastic service, cool guitars at cool prices. People do want to be able to see your business address and see that it's on a high street or see that it's somewhere that's not your house, and they'll kind of have more belief in it. So knowing that and knowing that I wanted it bigger, the natural progression was a shop. But I absolutely made sure we didn't run before we can walk with it. It was kind of like let's not just throw everything at this. Let's make it grow organically in a cool way that feels like it looks from the outside like, oh, it's just getting better and better. And by the time we opened the shop, it felt right. And now I look back on you were probably one of the first people in the shop.
Yeah, I think I was.
I think you were like the second or third.
Yeah. I would have put money on that.
Yeah. But it was, I didn't even know if anything was on the wall at that point, but a few people came down and it was just basically just like a room in a basement, and it was just shit all over the floor. And I now look at the shop now and I think, I can't believe how few guitars we had in at the beginning. It wasn't a few, there was still a lot, but now got so many in, it just, even that looks alien to me. So it's just been like steadily growing and not rushing the shop front and finding the right space. So mate, if that kind of answers your question, I said quite a lot there.
Yeah, but that answers the question well.
So does that the stuff that you said is for anyone viewing, or presumably you're online if anyone wants
I mean, we sell so much online. We ship worldwide, so we do basically like a next day service anywhere in the UK. And then if you order online, you can probably, if you're lucky, get it in 6 days, up to 2 weeks. Okay. We just sell everywhere, and it goes all over the place.
And is it niche stuff? Is it on cores all the way up to 58 Les Pauls, or is it? So
we don't really do the cheap stuff. So like the minimum guitar on our website is probably around the £500-ish mark. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's generally around there. We do get Squires in, and we get if we take in, let's say, a big consignment collection off a customer to sell for them, and there's a few Squires and stuff in there, we'll sell them because we get a lot of people that they go quickly. There's just it's a lot of labor to do really cheap guitars to a high standard, and versus like how much money's in them, because it's not all about the money, but we want to put I'm very spread thin with my time because there's only one of me, so it's kind of like I've got to do like the slightly higher budget stuff to get them where I want to be. But we do have some of the cheaper stuff, but that takes a little bit longer to get on the website. And I also keep a lot of it in, and we set them up nicely so that someone getting their first guitar can just have a cheap Squire that's set up properly, and then that's what I do, rather than putting the time and money into doing the product photos and everything else associated with it. Some of them just stay in the shop because someone phones up and it's like, my son needs a guitar, and it's like, well, we can give you a second-hand one with a few bruises, but it'll be set up way better than anything you'd get from a shop, is kind of how I'd look at that.
Absolutely.
Setup is so key, isn't it, to absolutely everything. It's just
100%.
It doesn't matter how good your guitar is, if it hasn't got a decent setup on it, then
well, I wanted to, because I was chatting to our luthier about it, because we now, we're further along, we offer in-store setups and all that stuff, and we've got, in my opinion, one of the best luthiers working for us. It's amazing. And I really wanted to do something a little bit different in the kind of cheap guitar world, because it's one that I'm not really into, and it's not going to make anyone rich. I just thought it would be a cool way to sort of get people into guitar and have the best first experience of guitar. And just something cool you can do for the community is like offer really cheap guitars that are kind of like almost kit builds, but set up so perfectly that first time you get a guitar, it feels right. Because a lot of it is like, I had someone come in the other day, you buy a guitar from a car boot and it's absolutely messed up and it's beyond repair. Whereas like getting something that's set up, I think is more valuable than getting something more expensive that isn't set up well. So it's just kind of like a little thought there about trying to get people into guitar and have the best first impression. But again, that's very different to what we do at the moment, because we're very much the high-end stuff. But I also do want to cater more to the lower-end guitar budget and the beginners. But I also don't feel passionate about stocking encores and guitars.
No, exactly.
Like that. I've got no problem with them, but like it's not something I'd use, so I feel uncomfortable selling that to people.
I mean, we are, Jerv and I, my brother, and all the other friends that we have that are into guitars. I mean, we're into quite nice stuff. We've got to a period in life where we want nice guitars, and they are nicer to play. Well, I'm sure in the podcast we'll cover budget guitars, because obviously that's very popular. Things on YouTube, what's the best budget guitar, and we'll probably do that at some point. But for the most part, we're kind of fairly high-end Charlies as far as the guitar goes. But I've had the amount of students I have that buy cheap, horrible guitars, and you set them up and they're like, oh my God. I had a guy paying 5 guitars that were very mediocre, but he came in and he said, he just messaged me, he didn't want lessons or anything. He just went, can you just set guitars up? So I said, yeah, I did. He brought 5, I think, over a period of a week or so, and he came away, messaged me and said, they're like, I've got 5 new guitars now, and that is the difference it can make.
Yeah.
If you know how to do it. So it's massively important. I agree.
That's all good.
Totally.
Other questions, mate. Obviously, I trade with you all the time. I think that one of the selling points, I think, for the 58 Sound is that you are absolutely reliable. You always come back with an answer. It's almost always the answer that I want to hear as well. You're a really easy guy to work with. From your perspective, what are you looking for when you're looking to buy guitars? What would obviously price, and apart from that, how does you go about your day stocking up?
Yeah, so that's really interesting. So like the way I buy guitars has changed. If we go right from the beginning versus now,
yeah, absolutely,
it is a completely different setup. So all my time was basically just searching for guitars that I thought were cool, that I know people would buy. And there was a lot of time spent on, I knew Les Paul standards would buy. That I actually started off, when we first talked about buying guitars, it would just be exclusively looking on eBay, Gumtree, and Facebook, because Reverb, there wasn't too many deals on and stuff like that, and nothing that was within budget initially. I ended up buying loads of the Epiphone G400s, the SGs.
Yeah.
And I honestly think I must have had 50 or 60 of them in total, and they were the ones I bought. So I'd search all day for them, and then I'd just kind of fix them up a bit, make them look shiny, make them playable, and then move them on. So I used to spend a lot of time just trailing everywhere for guitars. Very few come to you. Whereas now I still have a little look, but I get offered so many guitars on a daily basis for trade-ins, for part X's. I get people phoning with collections from like stuff they've had in the family for years. We get people just clearing out a collection because they're moving somewhere else. So a lot of the guitars I get offered, I kind of select the cool ones out of it, because there's a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily want, like the cheaper stuff, but I get offered a lot of cool high end stuff these days. So like I kind of a lot less searching and more being selective and
Someone's
finding
phone might be
something.
Ryan.
Wait, I'll edit this out. It's all right.
Okay. You back, mate?
Yeah. Oh, did it cut out?
Yeah.
You cut out, so we'll edit it. That's fine. But
Yeah,
we got what you said, so that was all good.
Yeah.
So now in today's market, what makes your blood race? What would you see come up and go, I've got to have that, and what would you go, no, thank you to?
What would I? That's a really good question, because the thing is, like, there's not necessarily so many no thank yous, because if there's something that I think that's cool, I don't know if someone would buy it, then I'd always be like, look, like I'll be reasonable, like it's just like that's something that's less desirable, I'd pay less money for it. That's kind of how I'd look at it. So there's not loads of things I wouldn't say no to, but if people are demanding too much money, then it's a no, because it's like that's a risk, but it's also like we're running on razor thin margins, so like literally impossible to do that. But like with that stuff, I'd probably stay away from, like, you're not going to see loads of classical guitars in here and stuff like that, and bits and bobs like that. But with stuff that gets me like excited is like, I think Les Paul Customs, because like I just really like them. I've always played Les Paul Customs. I think like just black Les Paul Customs are one that's just like they come and they go really quickly. Generally that stuff. A lot of do you know what's a weird one is Fender Custom Shop stuff. I think some of it races off the shelf, some of it sticks around for a minute, because like it depends on the wear and the finish, and they're ones that I found like there's more discrepancies in the prices than like R8s and R9s and stuff like that in the Gibson market. I think the Fender prices, to my knowledge, or I'd be actually interested to speak to someone else about it, because I never really spoken to me about it. Like there's definitely a bigger range in prices for Fender custom shops than there is Gibson custom shops. I don't know if you probably noticed that.
Oh yeah, but there was a guy, and you should probably have it off him because you still got it. There's a guy selling a thin line 60s with it was sort of a sunburst over Daphne blue. 2,300 quid.
Yeah,
that's cheap.
Sounds like a good price. Yeah.
So is this now your only job?
Yeah, I mean, I quit guitar teaching as soon as I started doing more of this, because my heart just wasn't in it anymore. And like I said about giving people a cool guitar to getting into guitar well the first time, I wasn't loving guitar teaching. So even though I wasn't giving bad lessons or not being enthusiastic, I didn't want to be doing something I wasn't fully invested in, and giving someone their first taste of music and potentially maybe not liking it, sort of thing. I wanted to leave that to someone that was even more passionate than I was about it. So yes, my only job. And then obviously, like, it's not, I mean, I play in a band as well, so I do that a lot, but we've just had a lot of downtime in the last 6 months, so that's what allowed me to open the shop, and that's why the timing has been what it is. That's why the shop is now open, because I kind of planned it around that.
So you're so going back to trading guitars, if you could wave a magic wand, and is there a dream guitar that you could get hold of that you would like to come through your door? Have you had it already? And if not, what would it be?
I've had stuff come through, like we've got a really cool 68 and 69 Telecaster come in. We've had some really cool vintage bits, but obviously I think the obvious answer for most people is you want a 58 or 59 burst to sort of come through.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, they're wicked, and I'm a massive fan of the 54 reissue Les Paul Customs as well.
So, me too. I can't find it for love nor money.
Yeah, and also like that, some of them I've played I've not loved, but I'd love a real one of them to come in, just because like I'm not going to keep it in a personal. I haven't got the funds for that. Like that's an insane thing to have around and play. So like I'd love that to come through, just because I wanna be able to offer those things to people. So for me, it's like, I'm easy. Like if some 60s Fenders come through, that's awesome. If some 50s Gibson, you know what I mean? Like anything vintage. Like I love all the vintage stuff, and I think that stuff that it's hard to go out and just buy. So to be able to actually offer them for sale to people is really cool.
Cool. And another thing which you do, Ryan, which I'll mention on here in case anyone hears it, is the consignment thing, which you've done for me before as well. So you offer so you'll do all of the work for a percentage of the sale, which is great.
Well, the consignment thing is really good, and that was actually something that I knew would work really well, because you go down Denmark Street and basically, like, to my knowledge, most of those shops are pretty much all consignment, and there doesn't seem to be many shops kind of like going out and trying to find people that want to use that service, because, like, in the most transparent way, is like there's a lot of there's so many guitars out there. I can't buy every single guitar people offer me, but what I can do is get it sold for them for the right price, so that the customer gets a good price, and the person selling it also gets the right money for it, and everyone wins, and we take a small fee. That works out really well, because there's a lot of guitar shops these days as well that just aren't buying guitars. Like, I get people come in and say, I've offered this person that, I've offered this, that, no one will buy it. And it's like, yeah, but like, well, I'll consign it. Like, that's the least I can do for you. And then we just make sure that our percentage is less than everywhere else's, because we charge 15% commission, which isn't much, because we have a lot of people come in and say, like, oh, well, I thought the going rate was 30% or this much here and there. And so, some, like, no shade to other shops, because, like, for me, our market is secondhand guitars. So we need secondhand guitars to come through the doors. Shops that stock brand new guitars, the secondhand market doesn't mean as much to them, and they can live without that business. I need that business. I'm not stupid. Like, that's what this whole shop is based around. So if I can sell guitars for a sensible price, sell more secondhand guitars on consignment than what the shops that are selling new stuff for, everyone wins. People get their guitars sold, people get good prices, and then we get to keep our doors open and put more stock on the wall. So that service, I think, is such a great one, and it's just a cool thing to be able to offer. And that's something you can't offer as easily when you're running it out your bedroom at your mum's house.
No, absolutely not.
That is definitely not true. I'm actually trying to enter into a little bit of trading at the moment, because I'm a teacher as well, Ryan.
Yeah.
And I have been for a very long time, 20 years now. And one of my students who does acoustic stuff, I've introduced him to Cole Clark guitars, which I will do a podcast on, because I love them. And they post to Cole Clark, they're out of Australia, out of Melbourne.
Yeah.
And they're just the most amazing guitars. I absolutely love them. And they put one on their Facebook the other day, and it was made out of she oak. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it was this really figured oak back, and it was the most stunning thing. So I contacted them on behalf of my student. So we're in twos and fro's and emails and waiting to hear and to see if he can grab this thing, because he was like, oh my God, I might have gas for this thing. So I was like, okay. So it is good fun. It was quite nice, because it's just trying to reach out and get stuff for somebody else is quite good fun, actually.
But I think I've never been someone that's gone into shop and bought brand new guitars, because, like, I always think, like, there's let's say, like, you get to say, like, oh, you get to build your dream guitar with Fender and spec it out to your exact spec based on what you think is perfect for you. I think you're more likely to fall in love with a guitar you walk in on the wall and pick up, rather than a guitar that you build that's made to your specs that you think is the right one. Because for me, it's different for everyone. I'm not saying this is the way it should be for everyone, but I like picking something up and being like, didn't think I'd like that, but that's pretty cool. And then you're like, that becomes the one.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
That's a cool way to do it. And, like, even from, like, how to spend your money smartly is, like, it's more sustainable to buy secondhand guitars, and it's cheaper. It's straight up just cheaper, and you're not getting anything worse. You're getting really cool guitars.
The number of times I've bought something expecting not to like it and to move it on quite quickly and gone, oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've actually already done the trade, the other side of it, got it in and gone, I've got to let this damn thing go now, and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Or other times where I've brought in something and just not liked it.
Yeah.
And that happened, or like happened with the Guild last week. Amazing thing, but I've just got that Novo in, and I didn't need it. I was just not something I needed, but I've got the Strat Plus back, and that's brilliant. So
yeah, that is a cool guitar, that one.
So I'm going to bring in something slightly controversial now, because I love this, and I know Andy hates it.
Jim, everybody hates that.
I think it's cool.
Yeah, but I like it, because are you a relic person or not a relic person?
Do you know what? Years ago, absolutely not. Now, yes. But would I buy a brand new Murphy Lab that was aged over its not aged counterpart? Probably not, because
No.
for me, it's about playing. I'd rather pick up something with natural wear.
Yeah.
But like also we just got a really cool custom shop Stratum with loads of wear that is really nice. So like, yeah, I love the wear and I have nothing bad to say about it. But my personal choice would be get something that's played in and worn and tells a story.
Yeah.
Well, for
No,
the
I
for
get
the
that. This
for the
because obviously it's a we're going to do a relic one at some podcast at another time. But the thing with this one is why I was so desperate for it was the fact that it's actually made by Dennis Fano himself,
Yeah, yeah.
and I was so excited, and because I popped him a message, and he came back to me and said, "Yeah, I built that one," and I thought, "Wow!" So
Yeah.
I've already made about $1,000 on it. If you wanted to talk financials on it, because it's one of his. But I thought I've had two people offer me money for it and trades already, and I'm just like, I keep thinking, because you know what I'm like. I'm already thinking, well, I could do that, and then they're going to give. I'm thinking, shit, I really like this.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't let it go for once. So,
and
we're running short on time. I wanted to ask you quickly a bit about the band. So tell me a bit about Trash Boat and what you sound like and what you do and how,
well,
that came about.
I was going to add. I was
Sorry,
going
you
to add to
literally
this.
just cut out there as just like 30
No
seconds
worries.
ago.
Andy,
Oh,
you
okay.
go.
Well, Jim said you're in a band. Now, lots of people are in bands, but apparently you've played Download
Yeah, we can't. I
and
guess
Heaven.
yeah, we.
You know, that's massive. And apparently you played Coco just before his band burnt it down. So that, I mean,
Yeah. No, we've done a lot of stuff. To be fair, it's been
What's
we kind of.
Download like?
Yeah, download set. We've done that a few times. It's a wicked festival, and it's nice going to one that's just like predominantly heavy music, because we play like relatively heavy music. Like it's not pop music, but but yeah, it's a really cool festival, and it's like right up our street. Like you never have a bad show there when you play download. It's like
And then it must be incredible because the crowd is. One of my other students has just been, because I think it was a couple of weekends ago, Download, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he'll come back every year and go, let's do some Maiden, or let's do some Darkness, or let's do some, because he's a massive metalhead. Although we've been doing all sorts of things. So I mean, so just briefly going back to the sort of the guitar teaching a little bit and leading on from that, did you have like I did growing up a favourite guitar player? Because for me it was Mark Knopfler when I was growing up, and then went on to the Edge.
That's a good favourite, that one. Do you know what favourite guitar player was probably when I was getting into guitar. Is very much like I listened to a lot of Bryan Adams and Bon Jovi, because I had like a couple lessons off
Brian's so
the
good.
guy that played in my dad's covers band, and they played a lot of Bon Jovi. So I really liked Richie Sambora. I thought there was a real charm to his playing, and I liked him. And I actually, like, aside from guitar, I thought he had a really cool voice when he sung some Bon Jovi numbers. And then when I got more into sort of heavy music, like Sinister Gates from Avenged Sevenfold was very forward in that, because you learn that he's not just a metal player, he's someone that learned playing gypsy jazz, and he's a very accomplished guitar player that could play fast, but he played fast with some sort of meaning and sort of thought behind it, rather than just like, hey, how fast can I get around the neck? And I think that band, I was such a big fan of that band that I liked that it felt like his guitar playing had substance to it, rather than just like mindlessly tapping and doing all that, because I appreciate fast playing, and it's something that I can't really do. But I very much like slower, more feelsy sort of players.
Oh, totally.
But Sinister Gates was kind of the one that was like, he can kind of do it all, and when he plays slowly there's feeling there, whereas like some people play fast, it's like, yeah, you can do that, and then you slow them down and you're like, play something with a bit of melody or something, and they're like, what now? But I feel like for me he was just like the complete guitar player.
I think technique is quite boring. I mean, I love Mark Knopfler, and obviously he was an absolute master. And I'm a big Joe Satriani fan. I mean, I like a lot of stuff. I mean, you can't not like Joe. He's the man. But you know, stuff like, although I like him as a man, like Steve Vai stuff, I find it's all just technique, and it's a bit. And Guthrie Govan, awesome, probably the best guitar player who's ever lived. But it's a bit, with a few exceptions, it's all a bit kind of, you know. I kind of hear you. And my students, I had a few students who were very, very talented, and I was constantly slowing them down. It's like, it's much harder to take notes away than to put them in.
Yeah. And also,
you
like,
know.
some of your favorite bits on records, whether it's guitar or whatever instrument, isn't necessarily the coolest, most polished sounding bit. What about those scrappy chords people play? And it's like, you can teach anyone to play a scale fast, but teach someone to play a chord sequence that's scrappy but also sounds cool and has personality. That's something
Absolutely.
you can't
Not
really
easy.
teach. And so
No.
many people that learnt guitar in a weird way and didn't practice scales and things like that can play guitar in a way I can't, because I practice guitar to get good at guitar the right way. There's something so interesting about people that learn guitar their own way, or phrase things differently, or strum differently, and like there's percussive sounds you can get that it just looks like they're strumming, but it's different because they play guitar differently to me. I like that side of things. It's really cool.
Yeah. So when you went from your, presumably you had small gigs, you had small clubs and pubs, and
Yeah.
I mean, you go from that, and I've done that. Jim's done that, and still does that. And Jim's done a couple of decent venues. I haven't. But what is that like from a performance point of view when you go from that to download, which is enormous?
Yeah. I mean, I
How
think
does it change your head?
I don't think anything's ever changed. It's always been the same trash boat. Like it's cool playing the small shows when we were a way smaller band. We won a competition to play at Slam Dunk, which is a festival that was like right up our street at that time and still is. We've done that many times. But like I don't know, it's just fun. Like that's all it's been. It's nothing changed. It doesn't feel different. It's just like, that's different playing a small one, and that's just fucking wicked. I don't want that feeling to go away, sort of thing. And I hope we can just continually do this. And thankfully, we always have been able to this point, and I'd like to still hope we can continue to do it. But it's just fun. Like we just enjoy it.
Yeah.
When's your next one?
Next one is like, when is it? There's something unannounced, but we're just going to America. So next one.
Oh, really?
Wow.
I think that's end of the year. Going to
Oh,
America
wow.
will be the next one, and there's probably some other stuff on the way, because amongst opening the shop, we're also writing a record that's coming out this year sometime, or next year.
Oh, fantastic!
I can't remember the dates, but
you heard it here, folks.
there's a record.
Super exciting, mate. That's really great. When you go on tour and stuff, do you have you got roadies and stuff, or do you do all your own bits?
We do all our own bits. We'll have a tour manager. We've had guitar techs and drum techs. We've done that, and we've had like the people that do that load in. But we're pretty hands on. Like, we're not like rock stars. We're very much normal people in a band that are just playing and
keeping it real.
And we carry our own stuff in. Like I even ditched my wireless to play the real lead. That's how lame I am.
I saw pictures from Heaven. It looked really packed out.
Heaven was sick. Like London's always been good for us. Like that was kind of at a weird point now, because we've not done anything in a while. But like, I think, like, what did we do? We did like Electric Ballroom before that. We did Islington Academy before that. Like we've always had like a really cool London show, and we're lucky. Like, I'm grateful for that.
Have you supported any big names?
Yeah, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I've got our tour passes on the wall here. I'm trying to think who you know. Some of the coolest shit. Like, there's a band called Enshikari. They're from St Albans.
Yeah, I know those guys. Yeah,
and we did Ali Pali with them, which was super cool.
Bloody hell! Okay.
And, so that was wicked. And then just thinking about like big shows we did. There's a band that you probably haven't heard of, but are very big in the metalcore heavy world. And we called I Prevail, and we did Wembley. We did Wembley with them. Wembley Arena.
Bloody hell! Wembley Arena.
Yeah. So we did that with them. And mate, there's been loads of cool stuff. Like, all of it's been cool. We supported like bands like 4 Year Strong that we grew up listening to, and all the cool bands we've played on all these festivals. There's been loads of good stuff. Like, I don't really have a favourite. Like, we actually recently did Europe with The Offspring. So we did like arenas with The Offspring in Europe, and it was absolutely amazing. That was so much fun.
I had no idea. Jimmy, Andy's brother's a massive fan of The Offspring. I didn't. Oh,
really? Yeah, no, we were with them for probably 3 weeks. That was amazing. We did this ice hockey. I think it was like basically this stadium in France. I can't remember the name of it, but like, it was ridiculous. Like, it was so sick. But like, yeah,
was it Parco Press?
Yeah, I think that might be it.
I went to see U2
Yeah.
there with my brother in '97 for the pop.
Yeah, that
Rock Tour.
sounds about right.
And it's enormous.
Yeah, we did that.
And it was full.
Yeah.
Full.
Oh mate, yeah, it's hard. That was so sick. But like,
That was an awesome concert.
Yeah, there's been loads of cool things. Like, there's loads. And do you know what? It's really annoying. Like, off the top of my head, I can't remember. Less Than Jake was like one of the first bands that we did, like a bigger band we did some shows with, and I was trying to see what's on the wall. Yeah, there's loads. Yeah, there's been a bunch of.
I'll have to have next time I'm in the shop. I'll have to have a look at that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think what we'll have to do is we might have to ask you back in a future podcast if you come, and then we'll just talk about gigs, going to gigs. What's it like, to play at gigs? What's it like to watch them, and what's it like compared to a small one? And I've seen Status Quo at my local thing, which was a tiny little place, but they brought the Wall of Death with them into a leisure centre, which was a very small room, and I couldn't hear for 3 days. And then you go to U2, and then it's enormous, and it's. So we'll definitely we'll have to do that in the future, because that's something for sure one for a future job. Yeah, that'd be good.
Bring you back down to earth. What's new in? What's coming in this weekend for the shop?
What's coming in this weekend? Oh mate, there's loads. We've got a really nice green Fender Telly. We've got some custom shop. We've got a really nice custom shop Strat with a humbucker in, which again is not something I'd spec out on my Strat, but it's kind of hard, We got a couple. We got like a 59 and a 60s Hofner. We got a couple old Hofners in. Which,
nice. Okay,
again,
I like that.
Interesting.
Actually, really interesting guitars, and they're guitars that they're almost a little bit flimsy in a cool way because they're so old, and we've set them up nicely so they're not a battle to play. But there's something that I don't have in my collection, but it's such a pick up the guitar and vibe sort of thing. But yeah, there's loads of bits that's come in. There's some Les Pauls and.
Tell me about the green Telly.
The green Telly.
It's literally just an American standard one from 2007, I think, 2008, I think. But it's I actually can't remember the name of the green on the top of my head, but it's almost slightly shiny. It's not like Olive Dab. I just can't remember the name of the finish.
Yeah, Sherwood green, cool. I think, is it?
I don't know. I really don't know, which is embarrassing. So I had so many green Tellys and I can't remember the colour, but it's green.
I'm such a nerd with those things. It's not true.
It sounds like Francis Rossi's one. Francis Rossi had his famous green Telly, which he sold like a lunatic, and just sold to someone. Because actually, for example, I was at the Cheltenham Literary Festival a few years ago, and he turned up as a talk, and someone was asking him, what about your green Telly? He was like, Tagcaster. Oh yeah, got rid of that. Doesn't care. Didn't care. Like this thing that's earned him millions, and he's like, I'll just got rid of it.
Yeah, that's like when you listen to Johnny Marr and Noel Gallagher talk about their guitars. It's a lot of Johnny Marr's just sent him a guitar and he's kept it, and it's an old
yes, that interview was fantastic.
Those stories amazing. Yeah, that was an absolutely incredible interview. I absolutely loved watching that. I've
watched that a couple of times that was the pedal show, wasn't it?
I missed that. Yeah. Was that the Marr one or the Gallagher one?
The Gallagher one.
Yeah.
There is a Marr one as well.
There is a Marr one as well. That's really good as well. I had a really interesting one with Johnny Marr because I was never a Smiths fan at all.
Yeah.
Because I don't like Morrissey, in a nutshell.
I agree with that statement.
Then I went to go and see. Someone took me to see Johnny Marr at Prison, my local place. He was unbelievable. Absolutely, what a guitar!
He's an amazing player.
He was amazing. Sang all the songs. It was great. Loved it.
But he's one of those players that is so incredible at guitar, and he doesn't wow you with flashy, fast scales, and that resonates with me so much more. Johnny Marr's playing.
The melody.
I agree.
It's absolutely genius, and but that's even Noel Gallagher is an incredible guitar player because of how good he is with melody and open strings and funny tunings and why don't we tune the E to a D or something on this lead line? I'm sure there's a bunch of that with what it sounds like, arpeggios and stuff. That to me is just way more impressive and way more palatable to my ears.
I mean, in that interview, Noel Gallagher, not really want to necessarily promote other people's YouTube channels, but that was such a great interview. And he spoke about the Ed Stratocaster. He said, God, have you played that thing? It's unbelievable. Or slightly words to that effect. And then Andertons did a fantastic with him and Danish Pete when they did a thing where they just listened to the Reckless album from Bryan Adams. Have you watched that? It's unbelievable.
I don't think I've seen that, but
it's
I've seen it on, but not listened. Apparently,
it's an amazing video. Yeah, I mean, they just play, and they were just and you just sat there and you think, flaming hell, Bryan Adams is absolutely awesome, and because he's a little bit, he had a bit of a reputation of almost being a slightly cheesy, but actually, when Lee Anderson said, Keith Scott has got to be one of the best, most underrated guitar players ever. And when, in fact, so I actually recommended to the student I had said before, he's normally a metal guy, and I said, let's just listen to some of this stuff. And we had so much fun learning all the Bryan Adams riffs. It was just really good fun. And what an amazing sound that guy has. And he's just totally goes under the radar.
I remember learning Summer '69, but I learnt it and was playing it in A for years rather than starting on D, because A was what the singer in my dad's band at that point would originally do that in. So I was playing it in a different key for years.
That is a massive, like a 4-tone key change.
I know. That's a pretty wild one, A to E, and then you've got like F sharp minor on the chorus. Is wild.
Oh my god! Yeah, you wouldn't want to be doing that.
No.
Definitely wouldn't want to be doing that.
But do you sing as well in Trash Boat?
Nah. Do you know what? There's one bit where because we'll make some, like if we sit and make like a synth sound or something with the vocal, you'll tune it and then make it sound like not a vocal. So there's like one bit on one of the songs that you can hear me singing, but it sounds more like a synth. But no, I would never sing on any Trash Boat stuff. I've not got the voice for it, unfortunately.
If you were to say for what one track for us to go and listen to.
One track, I would say go and listen to a song called Don't You Feel Amazing off the album Don't You Feel Amazing.
Right,
go
okay.
Listen to that. It's kind of like, it sounds different, it's very industrial, and it's got almost like, there's a little sprinkling of Nine Inch Nails in there on that one. And,
right, love Nine Inch Nails.
It sounds different. Because we were a pop punk band when we started. We started like for, I guess like inspired by Blink-182 and bands just after them and stuff, Sum 41. And all that. That was kind of our thing. But then we've kind of over the years gone down the more heavy, industrial kind of like just heavier route. So that's kind of where things have been. So, but that song's a great taste into something that doesn't sound like old Trash Boat, but has a real cool personality to it.
And is that kind of the way you're going now, or what do you?
Yeah, definitely. Like there's a lot of heavier songs and stuff like that.
Cool.
That's a vibe.
Man, that's awesome. Andy, have you got any more questions you want to ask Ryan?
No, I think we've pretty much covered everything really, because he's done a brilliant job, and it's been really interesting listening.
Yeah, absolutely, it really has, mate. Thank you for being our first proper guest.
No problem. I appreciate you having me. It's been great fun.
And
I hope you didn't waffle
so
too
much.
much.
We'll have you back for sure.
We'll
do something a bit more specific next time, yeah?
Yeah, we can do that, man. No problem. This was cool. I like it, and I hope everyone listening to it enjoyed it.
I hope so as well.
I'm sure they will.
We're going to start putting it out for people to actually listen to, maybe even this week, Andy, aren't we?
Yeah, we're gonna get it out there. I'll just post it everywhere I can think of, and get people to listen. And if you can, I don't like doing the like subscribe thing, but if we can do that just at the beginning, if you like it, just give us a like, give us a subscribe, just to get us going, and then we won't ask again.
Yeah, all good.
And,
cool.
Ryan, thanks very much. Where are you based? Obviously, you're online. Is it the 30? Is it the 58? Online?
The 58 sound. You can just put that into any platform.
And it's the first thing that comes up.
It should come up. If it doesn't, we have a problem, and I'll address that. But there's no way. I checked when we came up with the name; it came up first. So I think
it does come up first.
And if you've got,
not that I've got every day or anything, but there you go.
And you've, so Ryan, where are you based? If people want to come into the shop.
So you can find us at 26 London Road, and we are basically in a basement underneath the shop fronts on that road with a little buzzer next to a black door, so we're nice and hard to find.
Yeah, great. That's in St Albans as well.
Yeah, in St Albans.
Yeah, I've been there. There's plenty of parking available just down the road as well. It's
there is.
And one final question from me: have I had the most guitars off you, or have you got more frequent customers than me?
That is a great question. I think you're up there. Like,
yeah,
you must be. I think there might be a few more people, but not by much if there is. But I think you're definitely one of the top 3 for sure.
That's good to know.
You've always got stuff.
But again, might have Steve Jordan on at some point and ask him similar questions. So that's
But again, to go back to that, I obviously thank you, Jim, for supporting the shop and everything. Because
mate, no worries.
It's great to have people like you on our side and come and basically support us. So that's wicked. So
mate, always support you. Always tell everybody. So
yeah. I appreciate that, man. That's very kind.
Well, that is an excellent note on which to end. Ryan, thanks very much.
Have a great weekend, mate.
You too. Take it easy.
And thanks for listening, everybody. We will see you next week.
And I'll be in touch about that Telecaster. I'll see you later.
Absolutely.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.